We are back. It is the 5th of April. We are technically doing this a second time because my SD card was full, so I had to format it and do this again. It is the 5th of April, and we are in Vermont. Winter is not totally gone here. Down in Connecticut, it's a little bit more springy looking. Up here, it's about 35 degrees and not so much. So we're at a beaver pond in an area that is to the west of the Five Bogs. And starting out here, we're going to cover a couple of things today, a little bit of history, an anecdote from the week, and some other things, and whatever else pops up. And we'll take it from there. But let's get moving. Let's see what we find. This is the first look in the Vermont area in a few months. But let's have a look and see what we find, and we'll get down to business. Thanks. Okay, we're back, and like I said in the second beginning, the SD card was full, so we formatted, and we're doing this a second time, but that's what lack of preparation will do you. It has started to rain. It is a cold 30-something degree rain, so hopefully the camera won't be bothered by that. We're in a beaver pond, and the flooding situation is normal for runoff in early April. That beaver mound, I swear, is double the size it was last year, though. But we're going to start off with a history lesson of why the NESN setup is a collaborative network and not a traditional research group. And that reason is basically every research group I've ever been attached to on any level has, over time, become more about the politics of the group and not the interest the group allegedly had to start off with, and that's tiresome. Been there, done that, and this is just, for me, a better way. So along those lines, as time goes on, I have also, this is where I kind of break my rule and kind of say also I've been doing this for a number of years. My vetting process has become more stringent because there's just too many people out there that some are straight up grifters, some are unhinged, and some honestly just don't know how to play nice with others. And that brings me to where we're going with this. So this week I was approached by a person, and I have a page for every state that NESN is active in, and a mothership page too. And he approached me on my Vermont page and was all sweet and nice and polite, looking for people in his area to go out and research with, and very much a noob from their tone. I also found him in a different group on the same subject, same state, doing much the same thing, and I reached out there effectively saying, hey, I've been in the area doing this for a while, letting you know I'm here if you want to reach out. And he said very helpful, and then another post probably a minute later where he invited me to go frig myself, which I'm actually glad he did, because what that does is kind of showcase his personality before you end up in the woods with him. I did leave him with some constructive criticism, basically pointing out, when you're like a noob and you're going out into the woods to meet somebody for the first time, you're basically meeting a stranger for the first time in a remote location. And they don't know you from a hole in the wall. So it really would kind of help you to have some actual concept of social skills and think about the first impression you might make. If I need to say it in plainer English than that, learn manners. Because I'm glad the guy actually proved himself to be somebody with the emotional intelligence of a 10-year-old, because that just saves me the time of meeting this person who's a kid. I mean, they're younger. They probably saw something on TV and got interested in it, but still, you got to learn how to interact with people. That if you want them to interact with you, you got to learn how to act. Period. And I'm not going to waste my time on somebody like this. So This is why the group is not a group. It's more of a network. And this is why I vet people that much more in depth now, because there are just too many people like this. I mean, for all you know, the guy's just out there trolling. Because for him to go from 0 to 60 that quickly just raises an eyebrow. And I got other things to do. So good luck if you actually are serious about starting out. But I think if this is going to be your attitude, then quite honestly, you're better off if you just learn on your own. Because you're not going to make a lot of friends with an attitude like that. So good luck. And other than that, to what you said to me, back at you, and that's where I'm going to leave it. But that is not how one approaches a group or a individual or other people to form a group and do an expedition, because an expedition is typically like over a weekend, and then they have to spend time with your sparkling personality. I'm good not doing that. So again, good luck, but we're done. We're not doing that. We're not going to do that. So that was the first thing I wanted to just cover today. We're going to get moving, and we're going to do the look around and see what we find. And that was the plan. It is the plan. Let's get moving again. Okay, we're back, and we're heading in the direction of some duck-related commotion. It's not Bigfoot-related, but unless Bigfoot started to quack. More an example of ducks not getting along well, but we're walking along an established beaver area, as various aged beaver manipulations of the environment. And I could go deeper into the matter I already discussed, but I really, aside from the fact that I have some allergy things going on, I don't really see the point, because what you do in a case like that, if you just really have already come to the conclusion that they're not worth your time, one, you block them on Facebook, because the rest of the story, I'll just finish this up for prosperity, is I gave them the advice that maybe they ought to give more thought to what kind of an impression they make on their potential future research buddies. And he responded to that by deleting the post. But then I noticed a couple hours later that he was trolling along my wall and making asinine comments. And so this is why I wonder if the guy wasn't just trolling, because you get into somebody's inner perimeter and gain a little bit of their trust, and then you start doing this kind of thing. I don't know if that was his game. I don't honestly care. I just know that, like I said, I have other things to do than deal with that kind of nonsense. And maybe he does have a sincere interest, but if he does, he needs to grow the fuck up. If he doesn't, well, for those that are interested and want to DM me, excuse me, I can share his name and probably somebody that's not worthy of interaction until they maybe live 10 more years and earn a little maturity and life experience. Because right now, like I said, the emotional maturity of a 10-year-old. And I have other things to do. I don't intend to go into the woods to babysit youngsters. Even if they're older youngsters. Because youngster is a mentality to me, not necessarily an age. There actually are some younger, like in their 20s type Bigfooter types that are out there that actually do have a good head on their shoulders. So I'm not turning this into like an age generational thing. But this one, not so much. And I could guess at their motivations, but I'm not going to do that beyond what I already have. I just know that they displayed some very antisocial tendencies, and I know what I need to know. Anyway. Undulate poo, I'm not sure, but it's probably deer poo. I'll just say undulate poo. Beaver art. The fucked up thing is you could probably sell that on for a decent amount of money to some art hag. Anyway. Should the guy actually find my YouTube channel and hear this, he accused me of propping up 2 trees, something like this, and trying to say that it was Bigfoot. Number one, that was in Connecticut in an area that was prone to high wind, and you have that kind of thing every 30 feet. Number two, I never said it was Bigfoot. I'm probably one of the most skeptical researchers in the area. So when you start making little assumptions like this too, you only further embarrass yourself. But so moving through things like this, when you have the patchy snow like this, you have to kind of, it has 2 qualities. One is the part that gives and one is the part that doesn't. The part that gives is why the steps that you take in here are kind of tenuous if you're not sure, because that way you don't slip as readily. Or if you do, only a little bit. You can usually catch yourself and readjust easily enough. Versus somebody who plows through and you miss things that way too, detail-wise. All right, there's a part of the leg of this where we go on higher level ground just because it makes traversing easy, except this undergrowth stuff. Later in the winter, in the summer, my favorite bushes, the grabber bushes, but you can at least see through them. Later in the summer, when this gets thicker, this gets bitchier, and the like. But interestingly enough, I joined a group last night that's Connecticut based, and a lot of the other local guys are in there too, so maybe that's a good place to coordinate stuff and not deal with yahoos. But I stepped over a moose track. It's always interesting to me that an animal that big excuse me, can move through here as quietly, and there's a moose poo. Milk duds, as I call them. Something just made a noise over there. It is April. What's in... I know turkey season doesn't start till next year, or next month. But I'm trying to remember if there's anything that is in season right now up here. I know fishing season's active, but that was like gunshots, potentially. So basically, if you're curious, we're heading over in that general direction, kind of sweeping through here along the waterway, looking for signs of anything. Because in case you didn't think of this, water sources more likely than not are not going to be so much the pond over there. Going on the remote theory or conjecture that Bigfoot's anatomically anything like humans to a point. They're going to probably go through here because running water is less likely to have Giardia tendencies if Bigfoot is in fact susceptible to such things. Again, his greatest likelihood is to be some form of human primate-ish derivative, which would mean that he more than possibly is going to have that possibility. Enough things are cross-contagious that you can't rule it out necessarily. Anyway, let me think about how I'm going to get through here. It's not that things like this are impassable. You just got to kind of mind your step. And that does kind of, I find, get affected by your right or left-handed orientation. As I recall, the duck commotion, excuse me, I've had in this pond down here. We'll keep to the higher path for now, just because reasons. A new saying that we have at work. That happened because reasons. I just like to scan that. I'm going to actually take a segment break from this. Kind of skulk along there and try to be a little bit more quiet. So on that note, we'll be back in a bit. Getting worse. But that is not the point of this segment of our journey. I'm back on the trail, but ironically, I'm back on the trail because I went through that. I took the wrong turn and I got lost briefly, which is a cautionary tale. However, I got lost and then popped out on the road, so I got lucky. When you are near a water system, stick to that water system if you haven't been in that stretch of woods and it gets thick like this. Because that just keeps going, just to make the point. I found my way out. We're back out here, so we are going home without sleeping here tonight. We're gonna just make that point and segment break and continue on. I don't know how long this one ran. This is the first one for the year. Just a look around. So going through the forest, briefly got lost for about 5 minutes. Popped out on the road at a weird angle. It's not really a place where you can get lost that bad because the road does wind at an angle to where you run into the wetlands. You're either up against the wetlands, you're paralleling the beaver pond chain, or you come out on the road. Well, such as it is. And we're making our way slowly back. We're going to call this one a day unless something happens. So like and subscribe. Leave comments, unless you're the asshole from earlier in the week. And we'll catch you next time. And my thoughts on the conditions of the year. Obviously, winter's not quite done here yet. You can get into places, but we're not quite to spring up here yet. So it is, we'll leave next week. The next week, if we come up here, go local or go fishing. I wouldn't mind doing any one of the three. So we'll do that, and we will catch you next time. That being said, bye.